Welcome to Season 7 of the Stories in the Cemetery podcast. Your hosts, Nick Knight and Josh Amon, break down ghost hunting into actual science instead of just haunted locations and equipment. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts. Nick and Josh also host a Secret Societies podcast exclusively on Patreon. Let's get into today's story in the cemetery.
Josh is typing away, everybody. As you can hear him click-clacketing.
Yep.
So welcome, everybody. Season 7, Josh. Holy shit, dude.
Yeah.
Like, fucking wild. We made it through a whole season together, and now we're on episode 77 of Season 7. We're starting off a little bit lucky. So it'd be nice if I heard some, casino slots, like just, dropping coin right now, with 777s coming through. So welcome, everybody. We are going weekly this year. So make sure if you haven't subscribed to us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever the hell you're getting your podcast, that you do so now. So that way you're getting notifications of when these videos actually come up. And if you're not getting video through any of those platforms, just go to YouTube. You can subscribe to us there too. I'm going to keep that little flub in there because it was funny. But anyway, so we've also, I'm going to guess, Josh, that at the same time we launch this, we're probably going to launch our first Patreon episode.
Yep.
So do you have the Patreon stuff in front of you so we could start just pitching that and letting people know what that's all about?
So the Patreon, at this point, we're probably working on the $1 subscription level, which will be for just commercial-free episodes of the main show. So for those of you that want to listen to us, but you don't want to listen to all the commercials, even though Magnanimous is our bread and butter right now, you can listen to that for $1. So we will be working on that and hopefully launching all of that tier by February. If you do the $5 tier, there is some posts that we put up. You get the secondary podcast, the Secret Societies podcast we will be doing for the first season of the side podcast, and whatever else we post. So we post up some fun evidence, photos, things we have, little stories here and there. So I've been working a lot on that. Now, where it starts to get fun is the $10 tier. $10 tier, you get your shout outs, you get your merch, you get the side podcast, and for those of you that are looking into it, so the merch is actually going to be different. It's going to be something you can't get on the normal website, where you go to the TeePublic shop and you have all of the 100 and how many designs now, Nick?
I think I'm up to 109, I believe, at this point. So
this is going to be separate from the 109 designs, guys. You guys get a special shirt. You get to be part of the Paranormally Special, just like me. So I'm actually wearing. It's more fun to be paranormally special.
Wow. Josh made his own shirt, everybody. He went behind my back and said, I don't want to use that graphic. And he said, fuck you, Nick. I'm going to do it anyway.
So this is just the first run. I am working on some fun designs and stuff that we will only give to the Patreon.
Nice.
So if you are a Patreon, you will have separate merch that is completely for you only. When you go up to the $15 tier, you get the fun merch, you get the Secret Society podcast, you get all of the add-ons that we've posted. You also get to be part of the SITC Secret Society group, which is a open chat where you can talk to me and Nick about anything you want to talk about, as long as it is okay to say out loud.
Fair.
And you get access to making some kind of suggestions, putting your opinions in, your ideas in. So, and obviously we will mention anybody that gives us some kind of an idea that ends up in an episode. So you guys get all that kind of fun stuff at the top tier. So we recommend the $15 tier just so you guys get absolutely everything. And you get to talk to me and Nick and really interact with us more freely. We get back to you guys pretty quickly through that.
Sure do. So that is all of our Patreon, I guess, pitching, so to speak,
Yes.
just to kind of keep you guys a little bit more. I mean, it's not to say that we're not part of the para community, but I mean, Josh and I are really building something different here. It's paranormally special, for sure. So we wanted to make sure that we wanted to get something out to you guys that was a little bit more than just equipment and some, some of the haunts and investigations we've done. Like we go a lot deeper, and this episode is going to prove that as well. You'll see as we start to go through. So Josh threw this crazy topic at us, and I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole with it because it can go on forever. So granted, it's going to be super interesting. I can't wait for this conversation. But last couple of things of note, we do still have, obviously, Josh already mentioned it, merch up on the T Public shop. That'll be in the show notes. And then, of course, things are changing a bit as far as how our investigations for you guys are going. So obviously, if you haven't heard, I have moved to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, away from Charleston, South Carolina. So I am designing a tour to be launched in March of this year for the interactive ghost hunting experience. So if you're in the Pittsburgh area, I'm sure that I will meet you soon. Josh is still running some different things going on over there in California. So Josh, what exactly do you have going on right now? Like, what are the events?
So right now we are doing, by request, the paranormal scavenger hunt, and then it'll ramp up and I'll put out actual dates when we get into spooky season. I'm also working with some venues to try and put up some kind of like scavenger takeover locations.
Nice.
I believe we will be revisiting the Omen House at some point next year for scavenger hunt takeover investigations, like we did in October of this year, or this last year. And we will also be looking into a few other spaces. So stay tuned for more of that as we continue to keep going on that. I think I actually have one coming up that will either be done by the time this episode comes out or will be seen fairly shortly after this. So I'm working with an influencer to set up an investigation for him.
Nice. Very cool. Very cool. So, folks, of course, any event that you're looking to attend on whichever coast that you are on, they will all be posted on storiesinthecemetery.com. If you're strictly in California and on the West Coast, of course, you can always visit AmenParanormalResearch.com to see those events. But Stories in the Cemetery, we're going to post both sides. So it's up to you which way you want to go. So I'm going to stop there with any kind of show notes because it's a brand new season and I can't wait to dive into this.
And a brand new year.
I know, right? So this is going to be, oh, by the way, I'm still going to like rock this magnanimous shirt. These shirts are awesome, by the way. They got the sleeve.
Nice.
So
see, now I'm gonna upgrade. I'm gonna have to come up with a sleeve design.
I got the magnanimous beard on the back. Like these are and they're comfortable. So like this is gonna be a regular wear for me. Yes, I wore it for podcast today, but like I've already worn it like 4 times. Like it's just super comfy. So thanks, Ronnie, for hooking me up with this. But anyway, so the topic today, guys, like it encompasses so much. Like there's so much that goes into this, and I have so many questions to Josh, so we could battle this out. But we're going to be talking about the Scole Experiment. So this is across the pond, so it is not here in the United States. At least the basis of it. It did, migrate over to Josh's part of the country, but this encompasses a lot. So strap in. Like there's a lot of shit here. So Josh, let's just dive right in. Why don't you take that chug of Dr. Pepper, and we will soon get them as a sponsor one day. And I'll take a chug of my Pepsi. I'll like, here we go. I'm on the blur stage today. So Josh, give us the history. Like, how did this shit start?
So there is a little bit of conflict in the dates. So one site said 1995. Some of the videos I watched back said 1993. But we do know that everything seemed to have wrapped up in 97. So 3 senior members of this esteemed Society for Psychical Research, or the SPR, started in 95 with the project. However, it was going for years before that in 93 with the original group. So I think that's where some of the confusion on the years came in to be.
So why don't we start off with a little bit about like, and I'm going to poke questions here the same way you kind of interviewed me for my books and stuff like that. So I mean, Scole, like, what exactly is that? Because people that have never heard of this, like, they don't know why it's called the Scole Experiment. So, what exactly is Scole?
Let's see. So the Scole Experiment group reported physical phenomenon witnessed by both the core group and then the objective scientists from the SPR. They basically got together and held seances, and they just kept participating in this over and over and over again, doing these like seances to try to contact the other side. So it's very similar to what we did with the Philip experiment, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
So, but instead of trying to create somebody and have them manifest, they instead just were like, we're just going to reach out to the other side and try to make contact and then try to find a way to get that contact. And they were really, really big on how they did this. So they were very big on sealing the room, controlling the environment. They did everything in the dark. They actually wore glowing wristbands so everybody could see where everyone's hands were at all times.
Right.
So it was a very interesting just thing in general.
I think my point was why is it called Scole? And that is because of the city that it took place in. So a lot of times, like kind of like Sitsi, we have to explain it every time somebody asks us what the hell Sitsi is. Why was this called the Scole Experiment? Oh, because it took place in the city of Scole.
Right,
so,
Scole, England.
Right. So I couldn't remember if that was if it was in England or if it was one of those northern countries that's still part of the Great Britain kind of mentality. But that's just my ignorant American brain coming into play.
So, well, more accurately, so it's Scole, Norfolk County in the UK.
Right. Okay. Got it. So again, I'm gonna poke all kinds of questions at this because there's a shit ton here. In a nutshell, these folks are coming together, they're experimenting, and they're trying to find proof of the afterlife with controlled experimentation, primarily through seances.
Right.
So I just want to make sure, like, I'm kind of clarifying because we're going to be talking a lot about this. But
yes,
the dark piece of this is really what got me, because they like to do everything primarily in the dark. Which is, of course, where on the back half of the show today, we're probably going to talk about some of the skeptics and people that have come after them, and because it is primarily done in the dark. And to the skeptic's point of view, like, I understand, like, I want that validated proof too. But let's talk about some of the findings that these folks actually had. So I guess, like, break right into it. What do we got?
Yeah, so we have our core members, Robin Foy and Sandra Foy. These were the psychics, the researchers that were supposed to be sensitive. Then you have Alan Bennett and Diana Bennett that were physical mediums. So, and they were your core group. And then you had your people from the SPR join in 2 years after. So they started this in 93. And then in 95, you get the rest of the group that shows up from SPR. And they come in and take over. And they say, no, we're going to do this our way. They seal the room with tape. They bring in their own film. They bring in everything they can to do everything on their own, and control pretty much as much of this as they could possibly control. Now, everything is still done in the dark at that point. And prior to this, they have already started getting physical response, appearances of entities showing up, items materializing into the room from nowhere. That they, were actually, some of it was tested to make sure that it was authentic.
So I guess let's stop there for 1 second, because I did have kind of an experience with this phenomenon before, and it is called an apport. So for those of you that are unfamiliar with this, like, this is something that fascinated me years ago. But during one of my investigations with psychic medium Carl Ray, we actually had something appear. As how do I put this? We were going upstairs. The stairs were plain wood. There's no carpeting or anything on them. But when we came back down the stairs, there was something on the stair that had no way of getting into the building whatsoever. It was something like a specific type of leaf, or I can't remember exactly what it was. It's actually on the website. But we did have it that way, and that was the first thing that popped into my brain. was, this is an apport. Like, where did this come from? So we all stopped and looked around, like, where could this item have come from? And mind you, this is pure daylight. You know, we had the owners of this location with us, and it was a restaurant. And this has always fascinated me. So, I mean, if we could stop and maybe talk about the authentication of what these people did with these items and what some of them were, because this is fascinating shit to me.
Yeah. So, I mean, they had so much happen. I mean, the amount of stuff that happened in the time that they were doing this investigative process was insane. So they had multiple items show up from where was I with that? So there was a newspaper, newspaper dated from the 1940s. It was a post dated, so it was in the future. So this paper came out. They were able to keep the paper, and they tested it chemically, had it analyzed, and the paper, the ink, the experts verified everything, completely consistent with the materials and manufacturing methods at that time period. When that paper came out, it matched completely 100% to the paper that had been given to them by what they knew as the Manu, who was what they were supposedly talking to, and a group that they were talking to on the other side. That was the meeting of the minds, or the
team of the minds.
The team of many minds.
Right.
So, and that was just one of the items that they were able to give them or bring to them, along with a whole bunch of other stuff. They had coins, various coins, historic coins spontaneously appearing. They had
all British. I'll make note of that. All the coins were British currency.
Yeah, they had a half-crown coin, which apparently materialized to settle a debt from a spirit entity named Emily. There was pieces of jewelry that materialized. Metal pieces. There was 2 pieces of metal that were found inside a sealed glass dome that they would put in the center of the table. And they did that to make a control area. They had hands and body parts that they saw materializing in various sizing that touched them and then dissolved. So wax molds were even made of some of these materialized hands. I don't know how that process went.
That one that was a little far for me. Like, I was kind of like, really? Like, how do you make a wax mold out of a materialized disembodied hand?
Just hold still. Just hold still. We're just gonna encase that. You just keep that floating hand right there.
Yeah, it's not like those wax things you make where you dip your hand and it's just craziness. But to go to the
hand to the bowl. Hand to the bowl.
To the things that were just appearing. So, folks, listeners, watchers, I want you to envision a seance. It's completely in the dark. You could see a little bit just because your eyes will adjust. And all of a sudden, you hear a thump. And apparently, all of these items, no matter what it was, made the exact same noise. Yeah. I found that, too. Like, that was a little, all right, that's a little odd. But it could have been a coin. It could have been a piece of jewelry. It could have been this newspaper, which I'm going to talk, the newspaper again was not discolored. Like, that one, wow, that's huge. The fact that it's something from the 1940s, is 50 plus years old, has not been discolored in any way. Like, that's fucking amazing. But they all make the same sound. And what do you do at that point? So for us American paranormal researchers, that's a very rare occurrence, if at all. Like, that's not something you're going to look for. So if it does happen, that's a holy shit moment. An HSM, as I like to call them. So again, guys, just imagine these people are getting this on a regular basis. That these apports were just showing up, and then they have the disfigurement, hands and disembodied things touching them. I think somebody even said that a set of hands, actually, he asked them to move to his shoulders, and they were actually able to give him a little bit of a massage into his shoulder. I'm like, that's a little creepy, but at the same time, I think he was part of the SPR group, if I'm not mistaken.
So yeah, in the SPR group, just so everybody kind of has an idea of who we're talking about, this is Professor Arthur Ellison, Professor David Fontana, and Professor Montague Keene. So all professionals in their field, real researchers, real professors.
Right.
And they got involved with this, and they thought, oh, this is going to be fake. Everything is fake. The first 40 minutes that they sat there, nothing happened. They're like, oh, that's a wrap. And then everything started happening. The temperature dropped. They went straight into having all these things happen. And they saw, heard, and experienced all of the things that we're talking about. So it wasn't just, 4 people that were like, we're all sensitive. We're going to get together and have unusual things happen. The scientists were involved in all of this.
Well, the voices, too. We didn't even touch on the voices.
There was voices. There was photo evidence. So there's actually a lot of photos.
Evidence. The film evidence. Dear God, the film evidence. And folks, we're going to post some of these pictures so you don't have to do the research. It'll probably be up on the Patreon somewhere. Obviously, I'll make it wide open available because it's part of this regular podcast. But the film, like, they put 35 millimeter film inside the original canisters. So this part I found fascinating. So I'm gonna steal this one from you, Josh. I'm sorry. And obviously there's a passion here because I'm like, I can't wait to actually start talking about this. But anyway, they actually would pick. They had an array of brand new store bought 35 millimeter film. SPR would come in and they would choose one of the packages and they would open it up and put it inside the canister and just set it in the side of. We'll leave it on the table in front of one of the the professors or the PhD, the doctors that were there. And then after the seance, they had a developer of some sort, and it was controlled. So they would put it all inside of this developer, and they would pull out the film strip, and there would be writings on there. There would be pictures. There would be in different languages. They couldn't always decipher what it was because it would have been an ancient language or it was in Latin.
Yeah.
The one that fascinated me the most, and this was so fucking cool. There was actually a diagram of actually how to speak, and we haven't even gotten to. I can't remember his name, but I thought it was going to be in your notes, but it wasn't. As part of the documentary that I watched, but he was using an old tube radio, and he actually joined the sessions. But he was using an old tube radio to contact disembodied voices for full sentences. And he was doing a fantastic bang-up job. This was all at the same time. But anyway, there was a diagram of basically that tube radio.
Right.
At the end of it, there was a set of initials. Do you remember what those initials were?
I do not.
It was TE, as in Thomas Edison.
Edison.
And then when they compared the initials to Thomas Edison's actual set of initials, it was spot on. I mean, spot the fuck on. It was fascinating to me that he's basically telling us how to contact the dead, like proof of the afterlife, from the afterlife. Yeah. And that's really what everybody knows that's been listening to this podcast. That's my why. I want conversations. How does this shit go down? How do we do it properly? But there was a gentleman, and I'll leave it in the show notes. So my apologies, folks, for not finding his name right away, unless Josh, of course, has it.
Researcher's name was Marcelio Bacci.
Yep, that's it. So thank you, Josh, for always coming to my rescue. So I am your DID, your damsel in distress. You keep saving my ass. But at the same time, I mean, this guy, we're gonna get into him too because that shit was fucking fascinating all by itself. But the diagram on the 35 millimeter film strip, like, come on, guys, like, how does this shit happen? And it's not like it was controlled by like, hey, we're gonna make sure it shows a diagram. Like, they had no idea what the hell they were about to look at. They would just open it up in case they either had a weak session or somebody did come through with a set of hands and a port. Then they're like, oh, let's see if anything happened with the film strip. And lo and behold, there it was. Like, really, really cool shit. Again, just fascinating to me. Sorry, Josh. I kind of stole the thunder on that one because it's really cool.
No, and that's like it. The whole thing is super interesting. I mean, there's the anomalous photography and video, voices and sounds, object movement, levitation, physical objects, the light phenomenon, semi-materialization, temperature changes. I mean, at some point they even said that there was a small flying saucer, disc-shaped flying saucer that appeared in the room and flew around. Like, yeah, that was one of the items they said actually appeared in the room, was a small flying disc-shaped saucer with lights under it.
Wow.
Like you would see out of an alien movie.
Did you see the levitation of the table and then it started spinning on its side?
Yeah, so there was that, and there was even a levitation where one of the SPR guys put his full body weight on the table as it was levitating and could not push it back down.
I don't think I saw that one. That's again, the levitation thing is always an easy one to debunk, especially from our friends like Harry Houdini and stuff like that that would do that shit back in the day. But I mean, we're talking about this is the 90s, folks. Like, so I mean, this is a lot of things going on with one group of people, and then obviously SPR jumps in and wants to see it for themselves. So I guess the thought process for me is, why is this happening primarily with this group? Is it the group? Is it the location? Is it the I don't even know how to put it. Like, it's such a weird phenomenon.
So basically, this entity they're talking to, Manu, he comes through and says, myself and, the forget the name of the damn group again, the team of many minds, which was supposed to be almost like deceased or like otherworldly beings, were all basically trying to make certain things happen. So their goal as a group was to influence a group of people so that they could help us save our world. And they made a lot of predictions and came to a point where after about a 2-year process, things got very almost like sped up, where they said, we don't have much time left. We've completed what we came to do. Like, you need to write this stuff down. You need to do these things, or there's going to be issues. And they weren't the only ones to actually have experiences. So right after all this happened, stuff happened all over the world where different people in different parts of the world said that they also experienced weird phenomenon, lights in their homes, different things happening. So this all happened after this was officially like done.
I wonder
so
if
it brings a completely different level.
It does. It's almost like the people that experience that, because it's not something that I recall ever seeing like in the news or people that I knew, in the field and stuff like that. So were these people kind of the chosen ones to know? Like,
yeah.
I mean, it kind of, begs the question. I mean, it really, truly does, of why did certain people get the capability to experience these things versus the rest of us that are just kind of left in the dark. If it was truly a worldly thing, a worldly event that was supposed to be going on, now granted, this is well over what, 33 years ago at this point, 32 years ago, at the time of this recording. But again, we haven't heard of these things, and they've kind of slipped into the woodwork. So
yeah.
One of the reasons why, like, the SPR portion of this actually kind of, sprung obviously a little bit of emotion from me is I did submit an article to them about the SITC scoring system. They asked me a lot of questions. At least the editor of the magazine did before he published my article about what it was and how it worked. And, it was a legitimacy type of thing. So to see that name again, the SPR, I mean, because that is the magazine that I published with, come into play with this and start questioning it for themselves. Why have we not heard from the SPR further past the year 2000 per se about this phenomena, and why is it not a more well talked about topic among the paranormal community here in the States? Like, is it because there's just a lot of things that kind of go into this. I mean, we look at our paranormal community here as a good portion of them are cat balls and K2 type of people. They love, the aspect of a ghost hunting hobby, but they're not diving into, like, what are we actually toying around with here? Like, what's happening?
Yeah. So, and I mean, the amount of stuff that they said that happened, like, during this whole process is just absolutely insane. And it's interesting that only some of the stuff that actually made it out was actually kept as evidence that we now have access to. The best evidence that is made it till today is the photos. A lot of those photos are still out there, things that we can see, things that we have. And they were supposed to be done under controlled conditions. The historic newspaper, the coins, they supposedly had all that, but nobody knows what happened to it all.
Right. And why did it, I guess, eventually stop? Was it the psychics themselves? Because I'm sure if you and I were to cross the pond and head over to Scole and start poking around about this, everybody's got some kind of opinion or experience with it, because they did open this up to the public to come and see these things for themselves. So I'm sure it's kind of like your local legend and lore here in the States. You're going to hear about Mothman when you're in that city. You know what I mean? Like, everybody's got some kind of take on it. But again, over here in the States, like, why are we not talking about this kind of shit? Like, this is the stuff of legends, everybody. I know Josh and I have covered a lot of topics last year, especially we're comparing this to the Philip experiment. But I don't even think like the Philip experiment is talked about enough in the paranormal community. And I think that's what I love about, the topics that you and I decide to talk about here, is that it could go either way. A, we're not there to be able to prove everything or validate, so to speak. But two, these are things that the paranormal community isn't talking about, and we should be, instead of what's the latest, EM device, that's come up. Or the latest scary story, because again, everybody, to me and Josh, this isn't necessarily scary stuff. So this is stuff that we were actually searching for, and Josh and I would love to have been sitting at one of those seance tables to experience this shit for ourselves, but we would look at it, I'm sure, in a much different light. And with that, Josh,
especially today.
Yeah, especially today. What do you say we take a quick commercial break? So
Let's go.
We're about that halfway point, guys. We'll be back in, I don't know, about a minute. Enjoy the new ad.
Feel more confident, bold, and like you're one of the gods with magnanimous beard products. YourBeardSuperstore.com offers all natural products in 50 customizable scents. Inspired by ancient mythology and edicts from the Oracle at Delphi, Zeus himself has approved. Nick and Josh use magnanimous beard products daily, including beard oils, beard butter, and beard shampoo, just to name a few. Head over to YourBeardSuperstore.com and use code GHOST to receive a $5 discount. That's GHOST to get $5 off your first order. You won't regret feeling magnanimous.
And we're back, everybody. You probably heard a new ad by Magnanimous. I'm going to create something new, I'm sure, for the new season. So who knows? Hopefully you enjoyed whatever the hell I'm about to create in the future.
It'll be done.
I know, it'll be done by the time this launches. And hopefully you enjoyed the new intro to the show, whatever the hell it is that we decided to do. So I know. I always have to start off a new season with new music, intro and outro, and then, of course, new ads. But we're going to stick with Magnanimous, I'm sure, as a sponsor this year, because they've been amazing, and they've treated us really well, and apparently they're treating a lot of you very well.
Yes.
So we're going to keep up and help to support the small business, but he's not so small anymore, man. He's gone national.
Yeah.
Like, he's shipping shit everywhere.
And that's awesome. And I mean, the best way to support us guys is also to support, our ads, support the people that support us. So our sponsors, especially Magnanimous, have been amazing. So when we are out there looking for other sponsors, we just haven't found any that we want to put like a stamp on for us.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's got to be a brand that not only Nick and I want to use or be part of, but it has to be something we actually believe in. Yeah, it's hard to get in behind something that you don't follow or believe in. So
yeah, and that's why we don't do a lot of those affiliate type of ads. I mean, yeah, we've got Amazon stuff and that kind of thing, but we're not always like pushing on that, because I mean, everybody uses Amazon. When we can help out a business like Magnanimous Beard Products, because we believe in the product, it's is huge. And again, this is a paranormal podcast, everybody. So, you're a believer. So if we don't
Yep.
believe in a product, how the hell are you going to be listening to us for topics and cool shit? But anyway, that's how we choose, why we're sticking with Magnanimous is because we do believe in it. Great, amazing products. But moving on from that. So Josh, I think, was there any other piece of this that we missed? I mean, we talked about the apports, the hands appearing, the controlled environments, people
Well, I
coming in
wanted
and
to-
seeing this.
Wanted to kind of talk about, a lot of places, things that you talk about, they're not currently dated, right? So it's always like way back in the past.
Right.
This one, I can kind of go back through and say, hey, you know what? I can give you the where are they now?
Nice.
So we have Robin Foy was the co-founder, and Robin passed away in 2022 of April at the age of 78.
Okay.
Sandra, his wife, her obituary was also found in 2022. Oh no, sorry. It's less explicit. They list her in the obituary as still being alive, but nobody knows where she is or anything else about her. Alan and Diana Bennett, the mediums that ended up branching off of this after and starting the Norfolk experiment, have not been seen and or heard of since 2006.
Wow.
So following the Scole Experiment's conclusion, they were actively in the research phase of the Norfolk experiment, trying to recreate what they did with Scole.
Okay. Are they successful?
So
Do we know that?
the current status is not specified, and there's no indications of whether or not they passed at some point. So they're out there somewhere.
Okay.
Unfortunately, all of the scientists from SBR are deceased at this current time.
Mm.
So, and a bunch of prominent figures involved in like documenting and leading to the experiments have also passed away. So it's very likely that, some of the people we're talking about aren't still around.
I wonder, with my contact with the SBR, if I couldn't get a hold of him and ask him for any archives or backlogs, some actual documentation, from these experiments. They were open to the public at one point.
Right.
So I might have like a limited access to some of the documents. I think that would be really badass to maybe post up on Patreon.
So they'd probably tell you to go buy I think it's like $40. Let me pull that up because I have a picture of that. Yeah, so if you go on Amazon, the Scole Report is $42.93.
Well, that's a public record. I'm talking straight from SBR with their notes.
Right. Well, this is the notes from Montague Keene,
Okay.
who was present and was one of the SPR investigators on the Scole Experiment.
I think that would be worth the $42 to have for the diehard, paranormal researcher out there to really like learn from this in some way, shape, or form, and just be ready for anything. Just because these aren't the things that we normally find on a paranormal investigation doesn't mean that they couldn't happen, and it's that unexpected event that occurs on an investigation is what makes it so great. So who knows how the hell we would score that in the SITC scoring system? Oh, I got this random spoon out of fucking thin air. Like, boom, 50 points, Gryffindor, you win. Like, like how the hell would we even do that? Because it's not a normal occurrence. It's not something measured with a meter. It's not on a recording. It's you have to be there to experience it. So I find it very fascinating because, of course, I'm thinking of the SITC scoring system with this of like, how would we even do that? But it's video evidence. If there's floating hands on a video, we got to count it by the second. How many? So that's huge. Let's say it was up there for 2 minutes. That's 120 points. Like, that's an automatic win. You're haunted. You got the best score ever. That's it. That's the end. You win. It's definitely haunted. So move on to the next.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to do it. So.
Yeah, that's same as like what I have to send that video clip to you and get your opinion on it before I put up the score for the video I'm working on.
Uh-huh.
But there's I got at least 60 to 90 seconds worth of something on camera.
Nice. Yeah, I
So
definitely want to take a look at that.
Yeah, it's really, really interesting. I've never seen anything like it. And it's come from a lot of the cool new equipment we have access to. So I'm still working on trying to get him on the podcast.
So let's talk about the skepticism portion of this. I mean, obviously,
Right.
anybody listening to this, they're going, yeah, right. Even the paranormal researchers and ghost hunters in America that are listening to us right now are like, yeah, this is kind of bullshit. Things showing up out of thin air and seeing hands touch somebody and feeling the tingles on your shoulders kind of shit. Like, that's really far-fetched. But I will always tell people, and especially to the skeptics out there, because I know you guys message me on TikTok and Facebook, and do you have proof of this or proof of that? But sometimes, and I'm going to say not sometimes, most of the time, for this phenomena to occur and to feel paranormal and know that it's paranormal can go beyond the readings, meaning the millimeter jumped up to 20 or whatever the case have you. Sometimes you just have to fucking be there. And I think with the Scole Experiment, this is 1,000% the case. We can read these reports, I can read these books, but I wasn't there. So I do have a bit of skepticism with it, but I'm also fascinated by it because there's so many accounts of what actually occurred. And that's why I wanted to know what your thought was on why this was occurring. Was it the amount of mediums? Was it the mediums? Locations? What is it about
It might have
this?
just been right place, right time.
Could have
honestly. Because it seems like while they were conducting an experiment, so was Manu and his group on the other side. It's almost like perfect timing. Two groups on different sides, were doing the same thing.
Collaborating.
Yeah, because and they were saying, oh, well, we're using a device that allows us to breach this. And they gave them instructions on how to build it. They gave them quantum entanglement equations and theories that checked out. They gave them things that we weren't capable of creating, but we had the math and we knew the math, and we still can't create.
Right.
So
wow.
But we can start diving into the skeptical opinions, what they were skeptical about and why. So the first one is the insistence on darkness.
Yeah.
So
true story.
This one is definitely yeah. So this was complete or near complete darkness. Now they had some glowing panels on walls. They had the wristbands, right? So that you could tell where everybody's hands were. No naughtiness in the dark.
Of course not. Of course not.
So, but it was a condition. And people are like, this is notorious to be fraudulent activity because everything is being done in the dark where people can't see. Now, a lot of the things that happened, people are saying, and people at the time also said, that any good magician could have made most of this stuff happen in the dark. So, and the two mediums that broke off and started the Norfolk experiment actually said that everything they were doing in the Norfolk experiment was done in full bright light and that they were having the same results. So that's something I will have to look into because that's one of the other skeptical opinions is the lack of replication with mainstream scientists not being able to do anything to replicate anything they were coming up with.
Wow. One of the things that brings to mind with this in the darkness was I brought this up probably, I don't know if it was with you on the podcast or even prior. There was a Netflix special. I was talking about the afterlife and, belief systems. And there was some school, I don't remember where it was, overseas somewhere where this woman was teaching people how to create ectoplasm, through psychic, physical mediumship. But it would only occur in the dark. And of course, she was in almost the dark curtained area and would come out with this, I don't know, gauze looking stuff. Very easy.
Cheesecloth.
Yeah, like a cheesecloth type material. But she wouldn't allow cameras in there. She wouldn't allow the ectoplasm to be filmed. So it was very sketch. Just to put it out there like that. Not very believable coming out of a Netflix special. But that's what this kind of reminds me of. That was one of the first things that popped in my brain when I read about everything happens in darkness. But when the lights are turned on and we're still getting items out of thin air, and the spinning tables and that kind of stuff. Like, I mean, there's no explanation. You know, you can't physically explain this unless, of course, you are into quantum mechanics and quantum physics to be able to explain it through that notion that we're not going to be able to understand anyway. So, you know, not everybody studies these things, and perhaps we should. And that's kind of where this all falls into play. But the skepticism, I mean, I have a little bit only because I wasn't there. If I was there, it'd be probably a totally different story, because I would want to inspect the room, you know, before the, you know, seance occurred. But I believe that they were allowing the general public to actually do that when they were you know, having these seances with Gen Pop. Go ahead, go inspect the room. Go, you know, look at whatever you want to, flip over whatever you need to, look around, feel things, move stuff. Like, take a look, and then we'll get started. And that to me speaks volumes. You know, the fact that they're able to do that, because you're going to find a magician's, you know, string to make the chair move or whatever, eventually. But if none of those things were available, you know, at least to be found, then again, I want to be there. I want to see these things happen. But again, it's like you said, it might be just right people, right time.
Yeah, and that speaks to like the lack of replication and not being able to do it again, because, you know, part of what Manu said near the end was, we're running out of time. We've done what we were supposed to do. Like, this is the end of it. And, you know, unfortunately, none of what they said was going to happen in the world happened. But they also said that we were supposed to follow strict rules. And they weren't just talking about the 4 or 5 of them. They were talking about all of us. So, and obviously, we didn't hold up our side of that at all. Because they were saying we should live more in nature. And saying that we should be, you know, more in tune with nature. And I'm sorry, but we're talking early 90s, you know, late 90s. Nobody was in tune with nature.
No.
They were all getting frosted tips and earrings.
But I mean, the internet was just really starting to pop at that point. Technology was starting to take a really good, you know, head in the right direction to what we have now. Again, there was no connection to nature at that point in time. I mean, I lived through it. You lived through it. There really wasn't. I mean, you did everything you could to plug in to learn more. And instead, maybe we should have been plugging into nature to learn more about like where we came from versus how do we get to the next digital download. You know, Napster and all of the things that were happening back in those times.
LimeWire.
I know, right? Wow, we're dating ourselves for sure.
Oh,
guys, we've literally just touched, I mean, just a hair of what is going on with these experiments.
Much.
There is, and it's just so many topics that I know we shortened them to make sure we weren't going to go into like a 5-hour rant about.
Yeah, we didn't even go into like the entity scene or some of the other like details of stuff they got.
Oh, one thing I did want to talk about, at least with you specifically, and we can put it right here in the podcast. It's fine. We already talked about, was it Marcello Bacci that had the tube radio? So one of the experiments that I saw, because this was all in a documentary that I watched on the Scole Experiment. I'll put that link in the show notes. So he ended up putting, he had kind of a dry run, and he even did tests to kind of see the way things were going, where he would call in groups of people. And he would literally like fine tune the radio, looking for the right static from the tubes of this particular radio. And full voices would come through and they were recognizable, which I found fascinating. So they did a test where they actually took out the receiver end and, you know, some of the tubes to see like, hey, why does this work this way? Had nothing to do with the tubes, because I was like, oh, me and Josh need to get a tube radio. Has nothing to do with the tubes. I still don't know what technology is inside that radio for us to be able to maybe replicate or to try to recreate in some way. But again, it's fascinating because he did have a dry run where he would call people in and nothing would happen. You know, and apparently this went on for, I think it was like a full year where he thought, okay, communication with the dead is over. And then all of a sudden I think the radio kicked on by itself one day and a voice came through. And he said, okay, I'm back on again. You know, it was that kind of mentality behind this whole type of experimentation. But he didn't even know why he was getting the receivings that he was. It was more like he just knew how to tune the radio.
Yeah, and this is the experiments he conducted after, I believe, the Scole Experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And it was at the Centro Studio Parapiscoli, blah, 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 blah. I can't pronounce any of that.
I think it started off in Italy, but he like went all over Europe.
It was. Yeah, it was in Italy. He basically got attention because he was uniquely using this vintage radio.
Mm-hmm.
And it seemed to channel the voices like you were talking about. And that was his big thing. Like, that was what brought his attention to people. So, and he did a bunch of this stuff. Let me see if I can find anything else about his experiments here.
But I mean, for folks and fans of this podcast, you guys already know, like, I'm all about the communication. So I know the cameras are great, meters are great, but I want the words. I want like actual communication coming back. So for something like this to occur, like, what the fuck was in that radio? Where, or was it him? Was it that they just trusted him? And that's when we did the Know Your Ghost episode. It's truly building that relationship to where word gets around that you're not the guy that comes in with the cat balls and says, "Is anybody here?" Like, stop following the shit you see on TV. Like, it's going to be a weird experiment that's going to get us to that next level. Josh, did you find something further?
Yeah, so they call him the pioneer of the ITC and electronic voice phenomenon, like, era of investigating. So he created the radio method that we know today. He had the spirit team. So the voices identified themselves as a group or team from the afterlife. So that's the ones that Bocce reached out to and talked to. Sometimes communicating messages of the general nature, but often delivering specific personal messages to people visiting Bocce's center and contacting deceased loved ones. So it was a very unique interaction and very high caliber within the ITC community, because this is like the first like real ITC device, honestly, being used. So he was known for an ethical approach. He didn't charge anybody for his sessions or his efforts. He offered his works freely to inspire other people to do research in the ITC development department. So
sounds like we need to do a whole episode just on him as a paranormal parent.
He might actually be somebody we need to talk a little bit more about. And I guess he's still alive. So, but he's no longer working on this.
Yeah.
So it might even be something we have to look into, maybe reaching out, trying to get a hold of him.
That'd actually be really pretty badass. So there you have it, folks. A very blanketed, general, I guess, intro to the Scole Experiment. I'm going to have a shit ton of links inside the show notes for this particular episode if you want to take this a little bit further for yourself. We want to know what you think, too. So leave comments. You can always do that on Spotify or on YouTube about, are you skeptic? Do you have a little, I guess, skepticism towards these experiments? Do you think, do you agree with me where sometimes you just have to be there? But with this being completely in the dark, but they also did them in the light. There's a lot that goes into this. So do your own research and take it a little bit step further. Like I said, Josh and I did a very blanketed, open, just to kind of introduce this. And if it becomes a topic with you guys, maybe we'll take it a step further and maybe do another episode later this year, or even for next season, and take it, just take one of those aspects of it, like the apports or even like the levitation port. Whatever, fits your guys' fancy, and we'll just do one episode on that to maybe either prove or debunk like what's going on with those type of things. But with this season, guys, like, we got a lot of topics just like this, shit that we should be talking about that we're really, really not. We know that we don't always have the biggest fans of the way we speak about these things, but Josh and I are learning about things that we don't know about already. That's the whole point. You got to continue learning. This paranormal community thing that's going around, and especially what's happening in the paranormal community anyway. Guys, do your own research. I know it's great to have somebody to bounce ideas off of and such, but it doesn't need to be in such large, vast groups. Josh and I work, I don't want to say strictly with each other, but we bounce ideas off of people we trust in this field. We vet them pretty harshly. We really do. Before we even bring somebody onto the podcast, even a phone or chat conversation, Josh will send me a screenshot of a conversation he's having with somebody. I'm like, yeah, get them away from you. We kind of do that stuff back and forth all the time. We help each other out. But again, are we seeking to be part of that huge para community? We would love to be when we make a breakthrough. How about that? And I think that's fair. The SITC scoring system is a bridge. It's not a breakthrough. It's just something we feel we should be doing. But I feel like there's a lot of technology that we have gone too far advanced, and we need to take a step backwards and look at stuff like old tube radios and gain some trust with these ghosts before we can actually say that we're true paranormal researchers. So
Yeah.
I think that's a completely fair statement to make. I know it's, I'm speaking for Josh at the same time, but Josh and I think on the same wavelength sometimes, guys. Other times we don't. It works.
Yeah, I can agree to all that. That is basically where we're at, and I have quite a few different people I got to reach out to and talk to and start getting a little more information on. I know I've only touched this topic with Nick slightly, but I had a lot of people reach out to me when I started talking about new equipment, things that need to be made, things that we need to work on.
Right.
And I found some really cool people that came up with some really cool stuff. And, I look forward to having at least one or two of them onto the podcast, talking about the device they're coming up with or the device that they've already made.
Right.
And, trying to figure out, where are we going? Where is the paranormal field going? Are we going in the right direction? Are we making the right types of equipment? Are we really trying to expand on what it is we need to be doing to start proving this as a science?
Well, I think the question should be, do we need to expand on the technology we're already using, or do we need to take a step backwards and go back to when, things like an old tube radio kind of mentality? Do we need to go back to that type of electronics? Does it need to be simplified, or do we need to ramp it up and learn more about, the quantum realms and see what's going to take us in that direction? So again, these are all questions we don't have answers to. They're rhetorical. But we just wanted to leave this episode with you thinking a little bit more about the stuff that you're doing inside the field. So, Josh, closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
You know what? I look forward to this season, and I look forward to some of the episodes we got coming. So I know the next episode is going to be very unique and different for the Stories of the Cemetery podcast, and comes with its own announcement on top of that for another thing that'll be going into the Patreon for our top tier people.
So you can go ahead and release it. What's the next episode on? What's the topic?
So the next episode is going to be about cryptids. So we're talking about the Yuki Ono, and we're talking about changelings. So these are two things that are kind of came from the notes and stuff I was doing with my podcast originally, where they're types of entities or creatures that steal souls or are known to steal souls. So this piqued Nick's interest. So
a little bit.
Yeah. So
all right, folks, there you have it. Something to look forward to next week. So until then, stay paranormally special.
Paranormally special.
Thanks for listening to this episode of the Stories in the Cemetery podcast. Be sure to subscribe wherever you listen or watch podcasts. You can follow Stories in the Cemetery on social media under the handle Stories in the Cemetery, or to follow Josh's studies and experiments, you can follow at Eamon Paranormal Research. Thanks again for listening. We'll see you next time for more paranormal experiments and studies into this unknown world.